What up, guys? We are live. Trying to get this to pull up where I can share it. Copy this. We're going to go to pull up app. Why it always wants me to sign in. Never saves it. Mm-hmm. Uh, yep. All right. So we got that shared. Got that on there. Okay. How you guys doing? Got another podcast today. Okay, it should be showing up on here now. There we go. Here we go. Now I can share it. Took it just a minute. Okay. All right. So we'll wait for some people to get in here. I'd love to have somebody on here to talk about stuff. Just depends on if they will. I know a lot of people are probably watching Rolo's live stream, but so what? He's had 2 hours. Get off there. Let's see. Okay. All right. Today we're going to talk about what I normally like to talk about, anime. And it's so funny too because this somebody I know was like, I want to listen to your podcast. I said, no, you don't. Females do not like anime. There's a couple of them that do, but it's a very small niche group compared to the whole. Most women will tell you they don't like it, they don't care about it, and it's a turn off. So it's not for you. So get out of it. The other day I had TV on for for background noise, and I just pulled up something, and one of them was like an anime or something, started playing, and she was like, "I was so turned off," and I was like, "You still did it though. You still did it." And I laughed because I didn't care. All right, so this week in the anime podcast, we're going to talk about this week's anime and some of the things that I liked about it. I'd just like to point out that while Western entertainment is going down the drain, anime is still like killing it. Like you see the lineup they got for this year, and it's so many good shows. It's literally almost 100 good shows. And they're so diverse in their different genres and stuff, that they cover everything. Like there might be 100 different ones of there might be 100 different ones about a person that goes into a different reality, like the isekai genre. But they're all good. They're all original and all really good. Um, some people ask me to do like a top 10 of there, and it would be hard because I could do a top 10 right now. Now, top 10 of all time, that's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough. There's just so many good animes out there that it'd be tough for me to be able to narrow it down to just a couple. All right. Yeah, anime is a very, very niche kind of thing, but it's a huge anime is funny because anime is like a huge thing that nobody wants to acknowledge as a huge thing. They just want to like it's almost like certain sports. You know, it's certain sports are really big, but they're not acknowledged. Anime is the same way. Okay, so as I'm waiting for people to get in here, we'll talk about some of the things that are big this week. I don't really need that pulled up anymore. Hold on just a second. I'm going to mute myself just a second. Let's unmute myself. I am back. Okay. Okay. So this week, anime. Pull up some images here. Talk about some of my favorite shows. Mm-mm-mm-mm. We'll go into sorry guys, I'm trying to get this pulled up for you. It's not very big. I'm gonna try to get something bigger here. That's cool. All right, that's a little bit bigger. That might work. We're gonna share screen on this. All right. I don't like that. Why is that like that? It's really small. Mm-hmm. There we go. That's a little bit better. You can see the image better now. But this week I really liked Mash Lee. If you don't know what that show is, it's basically a spoof on Harry Potter. Like they hardcore went after Harry Potter with this show. There's a magic academy, and in the magic academy, there's different houses, different dorms, and they compete against each other. And instead of competing against each other for like to pass whatever you're competing to, basically become like this special class of wizard called a divine visionary. And once you've done that, you kind of wrote your ticket because it's kind of like winning your pro card and IFDB. Uh, Basically, then you got credibility, but it only comes along ever so often. And yeah, I really like the show. And in this episode, we had hey David, how's it going? I really like the show because It's not, it doesn't take everything so seriously, but the story and the art is really good. So it's a spoofy show, but it's very well drawn and very well told, because the basic premise is the kid doesn't have any magic. He's in a magic academy and he beats everybody up instead of using magic. That's it. And it's so funny how they treat him a lot like a dim-witted or a more dry Goku. He's like a dry version of Goku from Dragon Ball Z. He just likes fighting. He's very strong. He loves training. He loves sweets, and he defends his friends. Basic premise of Goku. He always wants to. He loves fighting people stronger because he likes showing them that they're not strong. Basically, he brute forces these very strong wizards into realizing that magic is being used as a crutch for a lot of these people, and they don't have anything past their magic, so to speak. Does that make sense? So that's why I really like that show. And this episode, you have this guy here. He's in a competition with the rest of them. There's like three people on each team. There's like three different teams, and basically whoever wins the competition. So that they'll become like a divine visionary. And anyway, this kid here, he has a special wand, and his wand is like one of those, uh, you know, ancient wands that nobody else can get. And the wands in this show select you, so you pretty much, the energy would draw the wand to you. And so he got one of the special wands, and his wand produces this statue here, and the statue takes all of his damage and reflects it back on the person doing the damage. So does that make sense? So if he gets punched, that person gets punched instead. Does that make sense? So I was thinking the same thing that Mash was thinking in this situation. Can't I just beat him so hard that it goes through that defense? So that's basically what he tries to do. He tries to outpunch his defense, and ends up working. And the kid has grown up with this ability, so he's never felt real pain. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like a lot of kids nowadays have never really felt pain. And then uh, he meets Mash, and Mash is not intimidated at all by him. And he's used to beating up on people. And he basically beats this guy into the ground to the point to where he actually feels pain for the first time. And I didn't really like the way they handled it though, because at the end he was like, "Wow, this is what pain's like." Um, Almost like an awakening, almost like a realization that he's human. Instead, I would have rather they done it to where when he actually felt the pain, he was agonizing. Like it was like this sharp kick to the nuts, just stabbing pain that he'd never felt before. And he would be like, almost trying to jump his body out of the pain, and agonizing, writhing. That would have made more sense to me, because if you haven't felt anything before, and then you suddenly feel it amplified, why wouldn't you be more energetic about it, I guess? But you know, neither here nor there. But yeah, I really like that show this week. I feel like merch. I think that it was a good episode this week. Let's see what else we got here. We got one show that just keeps being good for obvious reasons is Solo Leveling. I really like that show. So many cool images. Let's view that image. And let's pull that up now. Bam. So that's Solo Leveling. And if you haven't watched that show, if you've been under a rock and haven't watched that show, um, it's a very good show where all of a sudden it's kind of like that show Gate. Basically, these portals to dungeons start appearing, and if somebody doesn't go in there and defeat the dungeon, then you have what's called a dungeon break, and the creatures are able to leave the dungeon and start causing a havoc. So you only have so long to go in there and conquer the dungeon before they're going to break out. And there's different strengths to the dungeons. Like some are more dangerous than others. So they calculate it according to the energy that it's putting out, and then they send adequate hunters, so to speak, in to conquer the dungeon. So everybody's like pulling all their resources to develop like magical weapons and all this kind of stuff to go in there to protect against these creatures. And hunters are picked because they'll have like an awakening. Or they'll have like an awakening to where they'll have powers and abilities to defeat these guys, to defeat these dungeon creatures. And once you get your ability, that's it. It's not like in Dragon Ball Z where you can get stronger. You were born with that level and it doesn't go up. And so the main character is an E, the lowest it can be. And he's actually become like the mascot. Everybody loves him because he's so friendly, but he's just super, super weak. So they use him in occasions where they have to have so many people. And they just kind of keep him on the sidelines. They're pretty nice to him to be so weak. Anyway, one day they go into a scary dungeon, and everybody gets killed except for him and like one or two other people. And then he has like a rebirth, a reawakening, second awakening they call it. And now he's able to get stronger. Unlike everybody else, he can fight and gain levels and go up and up and up and up, and that's unheard of. So he's already like leaps and bounds stronger than what he used to be, but it's actually altering his body too. It's making him more mature, like his body's maturing more because he's going up in his levels. So it's kind of crazy. But I really like this show so far just because of the storytelling and originality. Like I felt there's not really anything out quite like that. There's Gate and some of the other shows like that, but not to this level. Like they really did all they could do with this show. So it's very suspenseful and very cool. But I like these shows where you have to earn what you do. Like he's not automatically stronger. He has to go in and do so many tasks a day, or it gives him a penalty. And so then it like basically teleports him to a dungeon. He has to last like, so long against these creatures that are leaps and bounds stronger than him. So it's scary. And he has to do his daily tasks every day to keep that from happening. And doing those daily tasks helps him have perks and level up. And he's grown accustomed to it pretty quickly. But I like stories like that where you have to earn what you do. Kind of like Mash Lee. Mash Lee wasn't born with magic. He just worked out every freaking day in the woods by himself until he was a monster. And I mean, he had to earn that. That wasn't given to him. I like shows like that. Now, there's other shows that showcase the opposite that I still like though, because of how they handle it. One of those is going to be Ragna Crimson. If you like Claymore, you probably would like this show. I'm trying to think of what else these people do besides this show. Let's see if I can pull up some good pictures here. View image. Come on now. Don't be like that. Not gonna let me do that. See if he'll pull that up now. Okay, that's a little better. We'll just share that. And thanks a lot for watching, guys. I appreciate this. I know it's going to be a little while before it's a great production, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Okay, I'm doing my best. Yo. You doing good though? You're still good, Marty. We're talking about Ragna Crimson, and you may have heard of this show too. These guys, man, people act like the guys act like they're never attracted to anybody. Is Crunchyroll the only way to watch anime you told me about last week? No, you can watch anime on a number of shows. I use a website called 9 Anime TV. You can do 9 Anime, or you can do GoGo Anime, and they update their website every so often. So it'd be like a new like .to, .com, .org, but it'd be the same premise. But those shows are all free on there, and that's why I watch it, because I just have so many services I can't pay for Crunchyroll too. Even though I probably should just cancel all the rest of them and just have Crunchyroll, because they're the only ones that are doing anything with entertainment right now. But Ragna Crimson, we'll get on the real topic. Ragna Crimson is a really neat show, especially if you like shows like Claymore. If you know what Claymore was, it was a show a few years back where these girls were injected with demon DNA, and it gave them special abilities, but eventually would drive them crazy. And they used their abilities to defeat actual demons. And so they all carried huge Claymore swords, and that's why it was called Claymore. Kind of like this show. On this show, I won't spoil it for you unless you want me to, because some of the secrets on there is kind of like why things are happening. But basically in this show, that sounds like my wife. Yeah. Basically on this show, you have a dude, right? And he's kind of a lower class soldier. He's got and I don't really like how they just kind of just wrote his friend off. She has demon blood. Yeah. They just kind of wrote his friend off because he had a female partner on the show. And the whole point of this show is he's trying to protect his female partner from getting killed, because he basically is afraid that eventually she's going to fight dragons on here, and that's what the main enemy is dragons on this show. He's afraid that she's going to fight an upper class dragon eventually, and it's going to kill her. And so through his panic, he actually gets a vision from his future self that says, "Hey, yeah, you're actually right. She is going to die, and I'm here to prevent that." So what the old him in the future does is send his energy to him using some kind of spell. So he gains all of the energy and abilities that the future version had with his maxed out stats, just getting as strong as he absolutely could. And so then he has to learn how to use that, because you don't just get the ability. You have to learn how to use all the stuff the correct way. So he's using that to his full extent to kind of protect her, but she kind of disappeared. Like he just kind of shoved her off. He was like, "Get out of here, get!" and ran her off. And so he's been basically hanging out with the Crimson character this whole time in their agreement that they will team up to destroy the dragons. She's actually Crimson's actually a half dragon themselves, and hates the other dragons. So she's going to help him defeat them, and through in which she would be the ruler, of them. But she wants to kill them all. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it does. She just hates them that much, and so he teams up with her to fight them. And it's very interesting because apparently the dragons are basically vampires. Like if I had to think about another creature like that, it'd be vampires, because the dragons used to be humans, and through some kind of ritual, they can turn people into dragons. So makes sense why there were so many all of a sudden. But yeah, it's an uphill battle. The whole show is an uphill battle because there's so many dragons compared to people, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller because these upper class dragons have crazy abilities that are just very OP, and regular soldier army could have no chance of defeating them. So they all use silver weapons, and the silver magical weapons affect the dragons. It turns them to ice. It affects their body and stuff and turns them to ice. So it's pretty cool. But the kid here, he's got the silver in him. Like he is a weapon. So he's able to basically just turn himself into a big weapon and fight these dragons. So that's pretty cool. But this is a whole different premise, because on this type of thing, you'll have somebody that was just given the ability, basically like Spider-Man. And it's a beta's wet dream. I can't do anything right. I'm not handsome. I don't have this, I don't have that. And then you just gain all that stuff, and basically you're awesome then. That's beta's wet fantasy. Well, on this show, excuse me, on this show, he's got to learn how to use those abilities because they don't work right. He doesn't have any control over it. So he's slowly but surely figuring that out. And I like that. I like that he's got to navigate and grow up a little bit. He's got to learn that he's wrong about certain things and right about certain things, but he's very stubborn. And he kind of reminds me of Mash Lee, because he's very stubborn. He brute forces his way through everything, and he's very simplistic. He doesn't understand certain things. So he doesn't understand nuances and stuff. And Crimson is the exact opposite. She's very, very mischievous, very plotting, always plotting stuff in the background, always 3 or 4 steps ahead of the enemy, doing everything she can. And Crimson's interesting because she's like a half dragon, but she's technically not human. So she doesn't really have a human form. So she'll go from female to male, and it's almost like half the time she looks like a trap. And it's a very, very interesting character to me. I just wish that they'd do the female version a little bit more, because it's kind of weird always being the trap. But it's a very interesting character, so I don't really care. But yeah, I like that show this week. Let's see what else we got. I don't know if you've watched this show yet. I'm probably the only one around that watches as much anime as I do. But I just go down through the list because it's all lined up for me. So I just watch one and then watch the next one. It's usually just one episode a week. So let's see if I can pull up this. All right. Now, what's it got pulled up? All right, let's pull up the next one. Should we quit doing that? All right, so this one's called Undead Unluck, and it was funny because it was advertised on, I think, Hulu. For me, like, it told me it was supposed to come out on Hulu, but it's still on that website. You can go and watch it on there. Um, but it's a pretty cool show. Basically, you have these people that have abilities, and it's very odd. There's like this ominous presence in the universe, right? And this ominous presence is basically trying to destroy the planet, but at the same time, they're giving people the opportunity to stop it. So they have to defeat these creatures, and if they don't defeat these creatures, they get a penalty, and they will add like another law of the world to it, if that makes sense. Like, all of a sudden the sky's purple kind of thing. Well, that's part of it now. Just weird, crazy stuff like that. So uh, it creates another one of these beings every time you do that, and you have to, and that being's even stronger than the other one. So you don't want that to keep happening. You don't want to keep getting. You don't want to keep losing, basically, because you're going to go one step back every time you do that. And on this show, it's interesting because the main two characters is uh, a guy that can't die, and a girl that can't touch anybody. She can't touch anybody. She's got minus touch for bad luck, and he can't die. And it's pretty cool because he uses his body as a weapon because he regenerates so quickly that's why he's called undead and she's called unluck. But they have actual names. But anyway, he's fascinated by her because he can't die. So he wants to test what he can do with her physically and not die. And I think one time he kissed her and a freaking meteor came out of the sky and hit the earth. And so, they've been escalating it it's been a pretty funny show because like at one point she like takes her shirt and throws it over his head. So basically her boobs is like squished up against his face to get the most contact she could get for bad luck. And they use that bad luck to target the people that they're fighting. So they'll do that bad luck and he'll be standing right there and it doesn't matter because it's not going to kill him. And it beats the living Jesus out of the bad guy instead. So I remember one episode was really cool because they made friends with this town full of zombies, and the zombies were sentient to a certain extent, but they had been turned into zombies by the bad guy, and they regretted it. And so they were trying to get the two characters to help them get revenge. And basically, what she was doing was they're zombies at this point. They can't go back to human. So what she was doing was she was just touching all of them, and every time she touched one of them, they would basically turn into bombs. So they were just standing there, and she would touch them, and then they'd go run at the bad guy and blow up on him. So basically, they were just kamikaze and bombing him to death. And so that was pretty unique, And so then at that point, you figure out that Undead there is a lot more complex character than you think because who you see and his actual self is two different things. He actually has something stuck in his head because he can't die. So he has something stuck in his head that actually prevents his brain from growing back together all the way to keep the bad side of him from coming out. Makes sense? There's a similar show kind of like that, where the people are in robots and the robots have AI systems, and this one AI system has two personalities, kind of like that. Can't get it to pull up, but yeah, it's a very interesting show. And apparently, there's like a whole group of these guys and some kind of special team, and they capture people like them that have abilities and lock them up, and they're able to get all these benefits for being those guys. And but the logic of that is, if you kill somebody that's in that position, you can take their position. So they basically kill two people on the team to join the team, and everybody's just okay with it. All right, now the next one I would do is the next one is called The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. Pretty interesting show. I like the premise of it. So far, so good. And you really get to kind of figure out what's going on with the character as he's figuring it out. So it's not like, you know, he's already done it and you're kind of seeing it happen. No, it's happening as he's figuring out what's going on. Let's see if I can pull this up right here. Yeah, let me get this right here. All right, unwanted undead adventurer. This one right here is pretty neat because the guy dies. Like, first episode, he dies. A dragon shows up that he's never seen before, and the dragon just one shots his butt like he's dead. And so he wakes up as an undead skeleton. So you know how in dungeons you'd have the undead skeleton soldiers? He's one of them. And so he has to figure out what's going on. Like, usually you die, you die. You don't become a dungeon monster. And so he figures out that he can actually get stronger the more creatures that he defeats. So he starts using that to his advantage, and he goes from a undead skeleton to a ghoul. He actually upgrades himself to a ghoul, so that's pretty cool. Gets new abilities, looks slightly more human, so that's a benefit because he wants to leave the dungeon. He feels like he's still himself, so he wants to leave eventually. He doesn't want to stay in the dungeon, walk around like a monster. So he gets help from a girl that goes and buys him clothes because he saves her life. And through that, he gets this mask, the skeleton mask that you see there, that won't come off. So then he's kind of screwed on that end. Now he can swap it around to where either the top of it is showing or the bottom of it is showing, if that makes sense. So if he needs to eat, the mask will disappear from the bottom of his face. And if he wants to be seen more, then the top of the mask will disappear where you can see his eyes and stuff. Let's see if I can pull up an image of that. View image. Share. There you go. You can kind of see now. It's both. You said, David, is this an anime or a manga? It's both. Most of these shows are gonna be mangas at the same time. But what I'm referring to on this show is anime, or on this podcast is anime. And as you see on the mask there, he can make the bottom parts disappear, and eventually what he's trying to do is he's trying to see how far he can get in his evolution, because he now is upgraded from a ghoul to a ghast. I don't know if you know what a ghast is, but kind of like in Blade, where you had those people that never completely turned into vampires and were almost like zombies. They still like blood and stuff, kind of like that. So he's like he's lower than a lower class vampire, but he's a lot stronger than a skeleton. Does that make sense? And then he gets a little bit more flesh. But when he becomes a ghast, he realizes he needs blood. So the hot chick that he lives with gives him blood. And he figured out that he only needs like a drop of blood at a time. So he's still going around the dungeon. He's still defeating creatures, trying to get better, trying to make money, because he wants to be the best adventurer. He wants to eventually figure out how to become the tip top class of adventurer. So it's a pretty interesting show. I like it so far. We pull up a picture of the dragon. Yeah, share this tab instead. You see that dragon? It's a very different take on a dragon, possibly because he said it was a legendary dragon and they look different. But it was pretty cool, pretty interesting looking, and it just one shot at his tail, like it just basically ate him. Let's see here. All right, so I like that one. And a lot of these are going to be the same shows from week to week, but there'll be some new ones here and there. This one that I always talk about, Chain Soldier, is pretty interesting. Chain Soldier is one of those interesting animes too, where they release two different versions of the show. They'll have the regular version and they'll have the unrated version. And if that tells you anything about it, yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. What you think is going on is what's going on. All right. Now, let's pull up this one. Oh, manga is just the comic book version of the story. So you might have a lot of these shows are going to be mangas to begin with. So it'd be like a comic book here, and then gets made into an anime. So there's a lot of that going on. And the anime tends to be slightly different than the manga, you know. The writers do things differently, just like here in America. They might cut a scene out or shorten something or completely leave something out. And then you read the mangas and you're like, wow, it's a lot different in this situation. And they censor some stuff too. Like some of these mangas are extremely graphic and they'll censor it a little bit in the show. Like some guy will get their arm completely tore off. Instead of getting completely tore off, their arm will get cut really badly. You know, they'll do something a little bit different. But I digress. This show is called Chain Soldier. And in this show, only women have special abilities. You might be thinking, that sounds pretty feminist. There is actually a show out now called The Power or something. And it's very interesting that it's still on TV because basically women have special powers on there, and the whole show is talking about how they want to beat the living dog mess out of men with this power that they have. So it's kind of strange, pretty violent. But anyway, this show, only women have special abilities, and the women that do have the special abilities become soldiers to fight these creatures that come out of alternate realities. So the alternate realities will pop up in a mist, and you have to go in there and defeat the creatures that are in there, and then it'll disappear. Well, these women actually live there in the alternate reality. Like they have a house there protected by a force field, and they live there. No men are allowed. But our main character figures out a way to join the team. The white haired girl there, she has a special ability where she can subjugate creatures to be her soldiers. And she can usually do one at a time. And so she tries it on a person, and the person becomes an upgraded soldier, basically becomes a monster. And it's pretty funny, as cool as it is, because of some certain things. Um, let me pull this up. You can see he kind of looks like a Digimon a little bit. Like that's the thing that I saw. He kind of looks like a Gyarados from Gamera mixed with a Digimon of some sort. So that was pretty cool. But she upgrades him like that, and he becomes her slave, so to speak. And she rides on the back of him, and he beats the dog mess out of the monsters. Um, and later on, they figured out that she can actually lend that ability to other people, and they can use that on him, and they get a different version of him. So she's probably got the best all around one. And the other girl that's used him so far got like a super speed version of him. So that was pretty cool. Almost like Digimon. But the funny thing about this is when she uses this ability, he gets a reward afterwards. So it's very much Dom sub BDSM kind of style show. But he gets a reward from her, and it's a subconscious reward that neither one of them knows what's going to happen. So it might be a simple thing from she rubs his back to she makes him some food, or she gives him a kiss, or she just slobbers all over him, and whatever he wants. Pretty strange stuff. Like he starts to discover that he's kind of a sick dude. Like he likes some degrading stuff sometimes, Um, so that's a pretty interesting show, and it's another one of those shows too it's very funny because all the women start to fall in love with him because they spend so much time around him, and it's what's funny about that is that would probably happen, and most of the time in the military it does happen. Because if you lived in a house with like four girls that were young and fertile, and you're the only dude there, and you're not ugly, what's going to happen? Well, they're probably going to end up sharing you because they got no choice. So that's what happens. So I like that show. This week, they got to show the super speed version of him. I wonder if I can pull that up where he looks different. Let's see, Chain Soldier. There's a couple different versions. I thought there'd be more of them here. Chain Soldier. Let's just look up super speed. Not a whole lot on there. Let's see, what episode are we on? Let's try that. Let's look up the episode. So 5. You gonna see it now? Mm. I don't have it on here. Anyway, yeah, he does a super speed version. That's pretty neat looking. Let's see. All right, so we got that show, and I got time for one more. You guys got any suggestions on shows that I can tell you about? I really like this show. It's called Metallic Rogue. Let's see, this right here might work. Oh, nope. Image blocked. Sounds about right. You'd think it'd be pretty self-explanatory to share this, and it would come up. I'm starting to figure out that there's not a whole lot of images for certain things. Let's see if they'll pull up. All right. Shangri-La Frontiers getting to their big fight. Yeah, I really liked this last episode um, because they did some like weird stuff. Like when you're playing, the people in the show, the anime Shangri-La Frontier, they're playing a video game, and in the video game, it's like a god tier game, and they're trying to get through the story. And so there's these creatures on there, and they're called like legendary somethings, and there's like 6 or 7 of them, and if you see them, it's very rare, and if you survive being around them, it's even rarer. And he survived being around the wolf, so he gets these scars on his body that gives him special abilities or special buffs. And so on this one, they're trying to fight another one of those creatures, and he's basically going head to head against it. And it's almost like a time challenge to see how long he can last. But he said, "No, I don't like that. I'm going to actually try to beat him." So it's pretty cool. And basically, you're fighting a boss that is so strong that they can like one shot you. But yeah, they can basically one shot you, and it's pretty cool to watch the attacks and stuff because like the boss will swing his sword, and that one swing of that sword would kill a normal character in one hit. And so that all this power goes behind this thrust, and he's like dodging it, and it's more exciting like that. It's like that character is so much more powerful than everything else that it really goes to show you how they're not just the main character doesn't show up and he's automatically strong. So that's getting interesting. But Metallic Rogue here, um, I like this show because first of all, the opening theme is like very 90s, very 80s, 90s kind of type music. And the way they do the show reminds me a lot of like Birdie the Hero and Bubblegum Crisis and things of that nature. I can tell they're really playing on that kind of genre, and it's been very interesting because you're trying to figure out who's pulling strings on stuff. Like this main character is basically like a uh, bubble-headed spy, and that's very strong when she gets serious, and she's having to beat other uh, basically robots like her that can change their form, and so the other ones are evil. Basically, they're bad, and she has to go around beating them all. So she's investigating them at the same time because they all look like humans. So they had to change their form, like she's doing in this picture here, to know who they are. And so that it's a pretty cool show so far. Her sidekick is a girl that can control robotic birds, and the robotic birds are kind of like little spies for her. So they go around just collecting information for her, and she can talk through it. So very interesting. I would give that show a go. All right, guys. I think that's all I got for today. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to do some more of these. I'd like to have some people on. Um, I'd like to have some people on. I don't know if you got the invite when I sent it out. I don't see anybody trying to pop up, so I don't know. Because wouldn't it tell me if somebody was trying to get in here? I'm still trying to figure out StreamYard, so it takes some getting used to. But anyway, you watch a lot of anime. Yeah, I sure do. Mainly because I don't watch a whole lot of anything else. There's certain things that come on that I'll watch, but mainly it's anime. We'll have I have my kids watching TV, and they're always watching something. So I just basically just watch the anime on my phone. It's cheaper that way, and they still get to watch their little stuff. And so I kind of go back and forth, and I watch it at night when I'm laying there getting ready to go sleep. So I'll watch those sometimes, and I just don't watch a lot of. There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing good on TV. My lady and I, we started watching Based on a True Story. That's been a really interesting show. That's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's kind of starting to get a little slow. But the girl that was in Big Bang Theory, that Coco girl, whatever her name was, Big Bang Theory, she's executive producer on this, and she's also starring in it. And she's pregnant in the show because she's pregnant in real life. And so her and her husband basically figure out that their plumber is a serial killer. And she's obsessed with serial killers, just like every woman is, hybristophilia, and obsessed with true crime. And so she talks her husband into getting the serial killer on the podcast with them. So they're going to start a serial killer podcast, and it just goes way out, like it's going haywire. It's so crazy. But at the same time, it really showcases female nature a lot right there out in the open. And of course, the husband is a lovable idiot, because he can't be anything else. He has to be a washed up athlete that's a lovable idiot. And it's a very red pill show if you have your red pill lens on. Like the whole time I'm going, ooh, ooh. And it was funny too, because we were watching a show, and I actually told her, like, we were watching one scene, I said, that's a red flag. And she just kind of looked at me because she's like, oh, here he goes again. That's a red flag. And then 2 scenes later, that red flag showed itself. And I said, see, right there. But other than that, they ain't crap on TV. But thanks for watching, guys. If you have any suggestions, write in the comment section, and I'll try it out. Or if you have a suggestions for a topic of a video, I can try that as well. Just basically for new ideas. I want to do what I like to do on here, But I also want to do some stuff y'all like me to do every now and then too, because I'm just having fun, guys. I'm just talking about how these shows are good and how it kind of deals with red pill topics. I really like how it shows the hero's journey, and there's not really a lot of shows nowadays that do the hero's journey at all. And a lot of anime does the hero's journey. It's the whole show. That's all I like that. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. See you guys later.